All right, so another type of construction that we went over in class was how to copy an obtuse angle. And you can see off to the right-hand side of my page that I have an obtuse angle. Again, obtuse angles are any angles that are larger than 90 degrees. And we can see that this angle is quite large, much larger than 90 degrees. So we're going to go through the process of how to actually copy this specific obtuse angle. If you were to look back at how to copy an acute angle, you would see that the process is exactly the same. It's just the size of the angle has changed. So again, we're going to start off by drawing just a line segment using my straight edge. And I'm going to indicate at the very end of that line segment, or the beginning, whichever way you look at it, and beginning, doesn't matter, on the far left-hand side, we're going to indicate, again, my angle is angle Y, so we're going to start off by copying that Y down below. Again, because we're copying this, we actually call it Y prime. So again, I use that apostrophe to indicate that I'm copying here, and that is read as Y prime. I'm going to go back to my original image of my obtuse angle, and I'm going to start now using my geometric tool here, my compass. I'm going to take the window of my compass here, and I'm going to place it over top of point Y. So completely over top of point Y. I'm going to hold down my finger on that and press firmly, that way it doesn't move at all. I'm now going to create an arc along my angle such that that arc intersects both of the rays of my angle. So kind of bear with me, I'm kind of short on room here. There we go. So I create my arc there. And notice that my arc has intersected my ray here, and then my ray, kind of my diagonal ray. So both rays of my angle are being intersected by this little arc here. Those points of intersection are very important. We're actually going to name those points of intersection. So this one off to the left along that slanted ray here, we're going to name point X. And my other intersection here, on my other ray, I'm going to label as point Z. Sorry, my pencil's falling apart. So I'm going to label this as point Z. So now that I have done so, I'm now going to, again, lay my compass over, that window is over point Y, the vertex of my obtuse angle. I'm going to press firmly and make sure that my sliding tool here, one of the holes, is matching up to that point Z. If you, as long as you didn't change the distance or correct the slider, it should be matching perfectly because we just created that arc. We're going to take this distance that we've measured between Y and Z, so this distance here, and we're going to take that down below now to my copied angle. And we're going to follow the same process. So I'm going to take my window here and place it over now my Y prime. So placing that directly over Y prime, and I'm going to press down firmly on my window now that it's located directly over Y prime. And what I'm going to do is exactly what I did in my original angle here up above. I'm going to create that arc that goes all the way across. And again, be patient, I don't have much room here. So I'm going to create my arc. Now that I've done that, that place of intersection off to my right here, that point of intersection that's intersecting between my arc as well as my line segment, so my arc and line segment, that point of intersection is now my Z prime. The last thing that I have to do is go back to my original image, my original obtuse angle up here, and take my compass and measure the distance between point Z and point X. So I'm going to take my window of my compass and place it over point Z. I'm going to, while this is over point Z, I'm now going to adjust my slider here such that the hole then now goes over my point X here. So directly over point X. So I have my compass window over point Z. I have one of my holes over point X. And so essentially what I've done is I have measured the distance between Z and X, those 2 points on my angle, on the specifically the rays, the non-vertex points. Not touching my slider, I'm going to pick up my tool, and I'm now going to go to point Z prime and do the exact same thing I did in my original image. I'm going to put my window over Z prime and hold it down firmly. That same hole that was over top of point X in my original image, I'm going to put my pencil in, and I'm now going to draw an arc such that that arc eventually intersects my other arc that I previously drew. The place or point at which they intersect, located about or approximately right here, that is my point X prime, so a copy of my original point X. So I'm going to label this now as X prime. The last thing I have to do is, using my straight edge, connect my Y prime and X prime points using my straight edge. And I have now successfully copied my original angle, angle XYZ, and I've copied that as X prime, Y prime, Z prime. We can see that my original angle here is congruent to my copied angle here. And again, I've indicated that with tick marks. 2 tick marks on this angle, the same 2 tick marks on this angle. That means those 2 angles are congruent. I can also write a congruency statement. I can go back to my original angle and say angle X, Y, Z. So angle X, Y, Z is congruent to my copied angle, and that angle was angle X prime, Y prime, Z prime. So X prime, Y prime, Z prime. Going back to what my expectations are for this specific instruction, again, it's the very same expectations as when you're copying an acute angle. The expectations are that you complete the construction. So I want you to actually copy that obtuse angle. Here we can see that I have done that. That's why I've checked it off here. I started with this original image and I copied it using a compass and straight edge. The second thing I did is that I marked the angles as congruent by using those tick marks. So in the very end, I indicated that this angle here and this angle here are congruent, and I used 2 tick marks on each of the angles. And that indicates that those angles are congruent. The last thing that I did successfully is that I expressed that these 2 angles, my original and my copy, they are congruent. And I have expressed that using a proper geometric sentence or proper geometric notation. I've said here that angle XYZ is congruent to angle X prime, Y prime, Z prime. Essentially, my original angle is the same or equal to or congruent to, it's the same size and shape as angle X prime, Y prime, Z prime, my copied angle.